my armor's better, and I'm 4 inches closer. Don't you feel bad about yourself? But until Warders came out, she didn't really have a unit to gel with that. And Warders just immediately popped up and went, the hell is that?
It's a horrible picture I just posted. That's what's remaining of Lewis's battle engine.
Oh. Well, for those of you who can't see it, it's heartbreaking. So Warders were basically just custom built for Epic Grizzle's feet. They do everything right with it. You hit them, they advance, and if they engage, their armor gets stupid high.
Well, they take that point we made earlier where they are very generic and gives them very not generic rules.
Right. So yeah, it's just those. Her feat does that, and before her feat was kind of pointless. But the thing is that Epic Grizzle is solid gold from her non-feat standpoint. She has got the best overall defensive stats of any Trollblood Warcaster or Warlock. A defense 15, armor 17 is not chump change defense.
Yeah.
Especially on something with access to transfers to be able to shuffle that around. She's hard to kill without any Trollblood support, and it just makes it worse. She's got a gun with a rate of fire 3, and each shot has to be something different. But she can either belch out a range 8 knockdown on hit quake gun, she can belch out a range 10 power 12 spray, or she can fire out a range 8 power 12 continuous AoE effect, like a covering fire. And from
Crescendo.
Yes.
I'm just filling in with the actual rules.
Crescendo is a cool word, so it had to be said.
Yeah.
All right, I'll grant you that.
It's better than cacophony.
She screams shit at people. I get it. Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to explain it. It's funny, and somebody out there gets it.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. One person's like, "Yeah, woo!"
Somebody mentioned that that P. Borka would like a discussion about the best defensive stats.
With who else?
I think you probably mentioned that Gristle has
that.
got the best defensive stats.
Yeah.
P. Borka would like to have a discussion about this.
Without help, I'll say that.
Okay.
because Epic Grizzle's stats are, if you just look at the two cards, are better.
Well, Bork is 14-17, and Grizel is
15-17.
16.
No, 15-17 for Epic.
Marshall.
Oh,
Marshall of the Crits.
I'm looking at the wrong one here.
Yeah. So Grizzle's got one more point of
Plus
defense.
one, yeah.
So, but then Borka's got a lot of spells and effects to stack up on it. So
Plus he looks
I will concede that. Yeah, Borka's still better, but Grizzle's no pushover.
And Borka does look better, but Gristle 2 does look better than Gristle 1.
She's an extreme improvement over Grizel 1.
I'm hoping so.
Isn't
like
that like kind of comparing like roadkill to a live animal? Like okay, which one looks better here?
I feel like
I think the one that's still moving and making cute sounds is a much cuter animal than the one on the pavement.
Raccoon A versus Raccoon B.
I think Grizel just went into her own version of Mean Girls, and then she just became the hot high school queen.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna be horrible. But I think
Is it better than impaling her? Because
No.
that's what I used to do.
I just think that Griselle 2 just matured.
She's like the what is that? The ugly duckling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Griselle 1, maybe she was like early high school, like 14, 15. Griselle 2 is like college.
Once she goes to college, she gets or plastic surgery.
Oh no! I get the
I'm
metaphor
just-
because early Grizzle 2 was like what's she really doing? She seems kind of bad at everything. I don't get the point. And then Warders came out, and Grizzle 2 like that's what I love for life.
Exactly.
That's the man I'm gonna marry those Warders.
Yep, that's the difference between football jocks in high school and fraternity bros. That's your hunting ground right there.
Yeah. So like of all of Grizzle's spell calls, the two that are most dangerous are Crescendo because it's a covering fire. You can stop single wound infantry from just walking all over you because single wound infantry doesn't like power 12s.
No.
And Quake is an assassination vector waiting to happen.
Yeah.
There's not a cast in the game that likes Grizzle to walk up and go, I'm Rat 6, I'm going to boost it, I'm going to knock you down. And then I've got two other Shout Army decides to jump on your ass.
And that's why a Meat Mountain is so good, is because you're just waiting for your opponent to make that mistake so Gristle can walk up, do her thing, knock down your opponent's knock down the caster, and just kill him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly how Meat Mountain works.
Yep.
You're just
waiting for that mess
to-
up, and then
waiting for that time.
And with Dash, sometimes you don't have to wait so long.
yeah, Dash
True.
is phenomenal. I never understood why the online community yelled at that spell so bad. It doesn't do anything.
Such a good spell.
It-
So good.
Like the biggest problem with Trollbloods is always that they get jammed and they can't kill the opponent fast enough, so the jam dies out on both sides, and then the Trollbloods have lost. Dash fixes that really bloody quick. When you can just disengage or walk past their jam and continue to cause damage, that's dangerous. Like you want to know? You don't want to know scary? That assassination vector for Pre-Grizzle was bloody burrowers. She walks up, knocks something down, and casts Dash, and 10 burrowers pop up and walk through the opponent's line to the enemy caster.
With no free strikes,
Right. It's like, what's up, guys?
Derp,
Passing
derp.
through.
Yep.
I killed Epic Kruger with bloody Storm Rager kicking. My burrowers were range 0 with their guns, and they walked past his army and just went, "Sup, Kruger? You're knocked down. We got power 14 guns." Yeah.
So cool thing though is, I mean, her feat is also pretty solid too, especially in Meat Mountain.
No, it's really solid in Meat Mountain and really not useful anywhere else.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's just models that are engaged get +2 melee. I mean, +2 armor versus
But if it's
there.
only if you're engaging them, not if they're engaging you, and if you're still on your feet.
Correct.
So it's very selective. The way I play Epic Grizzle is I pretend she really doesn't have a feat. I will use it in case it pops up.
Well, this is gonna be weird too.
But she is just solid, and you know what? She's not a pushover with her melee weapon either. She's Mat 7 with a power and strength 14 like hammer. So like if guns don't work, she can still club you to death.
Yep.
So yeah, she's solid all around. If you want to play something bland and generic, like Meat Mountain's all your thing, but she makes a lot of other things very good. She makes everything fearless, so a lot of work with like I've done a lot of mean things with Rune Shapers where like they're engaged, but you know what? Then they just walk out into a better position and rock hammer something down, or the Bushwhackers just leave the fight.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Oh, well, I was going to say, for me, she appears to be a caster that you want to deliver with your army, so she can get the job done. And
she enables a lot of fights too. Like all it takes is your opponent to slip up once, and that Quake Shot knocks them down, and it can be game over on the spot.
The problem that I saw with a lot of people playing her beforehand is they would try to go for that move, and it would just leave her so far in the open that involved her getting killed.
With Epic Grizzle, you use Dash and Inhospitable Ground and Crescendo to control where the armies is, where the opponent's army is, because like there's a chance your opponent never gives you that assassination vector.
Yeah.
But between Dash and Inhospitable Ground, you should and Crescendo, you should be able to keep your opponent where you need them to be to grind their army to a halt too.
Yeah.
So if the game goes too long, Epic Grizzle starts winning on attrition. But if the opponent leaves themselves open, she can bring an assassination to the table.
And I think that's where the Meat Mountain really helped figure out like how she should be played.
Well, when you're talking grinding to a halt, Meat Mountain really does that.
Yeah.
And then like Andy said, it's one Quake Shot knocks down the opponent's caster, and a Dash pops up, and then you run out of things to do.
Yeah,
correct.
That gotcha, bitch.
All right, so we'll go. It sounds like we're kind of done with Gristle,
we
so
covered her.
we're gonna jump over.
She's awesome sauce.
Which that is not the goddamn chair.
It's the chair.
No, it's not the chair. So we're gonna go with Horlock Doomshaper, Rage of Dunia,
Okay.
Doomshaper.
Yeah.
which is Doomshaper 2
E
for
before P, right? I get it.
Yeah. Well, it's some casters.
I knows the alphabet.
It's kind of annoying to me when people call casters P, because not you specifically here, but I mean some casters
I get it.
like that aren't like Fiora. Fiora was never a prime caster. Fiora is
Until there's an Epic Fiora.
well, no. But P always meant prime. It meant that it was a prime caster.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And Fiora was not a prime caster. She was an escalation caster. So therefore, she doesn't fit in the whole prime set as well.
I don't know. I didn't like to do the sequel thing too much. This is Doomshaper 2 because sequels often end up just terrible.
Not for Doomshaper though.
Yeah, well, Doomshaper 2 is an interesting critter.
He's like the Wrath of Khan of Doomshapers.
Borka 2.
Except if Doomshaper 2 is more like Mulg. Make that dead.
So I guess I'll go over the quick things for Doomshaper. Fury 7, he has Willbreaker, which is an awesome weapon. Has powerful attack, so he can spend a Fury, so he can gain...
I find it funny that Willbreaker is often usually better at breaking skulls.
Yeah. The funny part is, though, is if you're up there with Willbreaker doing your powerful attack, you're doing something wrong.
Oh, no.
Really?
Doomshaper's speed goes up so much during his feat round that you can get him and a handful of beasts into something juicy if the opponent's not careful.
I suppose Speed 8 is pretty sexy.
Yeah, and reach on that.
Reach on that is pretty sexy. Okay, I guess I'll agree with that. He has a Toon Spirit Dire Troll, which means that he can spend an Animus from a Dire Troll for free.
Yep.
Which, all the Dire Troll animi are awesome. From Rocks to Mogs to the Earthborn.
Blitzer,
even the
Bomber.
Bomber, yes. Maybe the Blitzer is probably the bottom.
If you're repulsing with Doomshaper, then you are in the spot where
you are in a bad spot.
Old man's like, no, go away off my lawn. Oh, you're still there. You're gonna kill me.
He has one of the abilities that's retained over from his first version, his non-epic version, which is Goad. Goad is an amazing ability.
Yeah.
Just basically, if you kill a model with a model in his battle group, you're able to force that beast to move 2 inches.
Yeah, you say Doomshaper, people think Goad.
Yeah, Goad is, and that's why he's so good with like Rock or Rourke or Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, with Mickey Rourke.
He's probably with Mickey Rourke too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Additionally, he has Hyper Regeneration, which means every turn when he begins his activation, he heals D3 damage points. So even if a turn that you're running low on Fury, he can cut himself and just heal it back.
Yeah. So it's neat, but if you're relying on it, you're already
you're in trouble.
I don't think you ever really run low on Fury with him unless your beasts are just falling
True.
over.
I've had circumstances where like I've run to the exact amount where the opponent's like snuck an attack on me and I had to transfer.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I'll cut for 1. No, look, Hyper Regeneration.
So really good spell for him as well is if you're ever running against a Shredder Swarm, a good spell is Agitation,
Yeah.
which puts a Fury point onto every single enemy model in its control.
Yeah, it's really good for those factions that very carefully balance their Fury. Like even beyond Shredder spam, like your average Legion army is not prepared for you to go like, by the way, that carefully counted Fury you just had that you removed with your Shepherd and your Forsaken and all that, let's just add another 6 on the board.
Yep.
What are you going to do now?
Womp womp.
Yeah.
Same thing with Circle. I see Circle really skirting around, trying to be very careful with their Fury, and Epic Doomshaper could just throw that into a mess.
Yeah, Circle just doesn't have the Shepherd or the Forsaken to do the work for them.
Well, they got Stones. Stones can get rid of a lot of it.
The Stones help, but at the same point in time is a lot of those factions that really like to run Beast Heavy like that just aren't usually prepared for another 4 Fury on the table all at once.
True.
Yeah.
True. So we go into his next spell here, which is probably I think one of the best spells in the game, because it's not actually a spell for most things. Primal Shock.
Yeah, Primal Shock's amazing.
It can get around a lot of things in the game. Like that is the only spell that can be cast from a caster that can actually hit Severius. Because he cannot be targeted by spells, but Primal Shock is technically, at that point, it's not a spell. Because he's targeting a beast, and that beast gets to make an attack. You make an attack roll versus him. So he gets around anti-magic a lot. And it's also very dangerous when you're running around with a Moog or a Mountain King, because all you have to do is just run that beast up, and you're just hitting...
One at a 2 Fury spell, like you have that Mountain King kicking there, and it's dropping power 15s off of it.
Yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit. Plus, Doomshaper is Fury 7, so he's not one thing... he's not something to shake off that well.
No.
He also has a really good spell with Bombers as well for Refuge. When they make hits an enemy attack with an attack during its activation, he can immediately move away and cannot be targeted by free strikes. So it works well with Bombers, works
also
well with Moog.
And War Wagons. Doesn't say directly.
It does not say Battle Group as well. So yes, War Wagons. Wow. Yep, Refuge works really well with War Wagons. Sunder Spirit, which is pretty awesome too, loses its Animus for a turn.
Sadly, I think that's his worst spell on that list.
It pretty much is, yeah. But that's pretty good too. If you have something out there that's like not Getarex, but the Stalker, which has Sprint for his Animus. If you snipe that thing off that sucks for that
Yep.
that beast, or wherever you're going to cast at that turn for circle. Wild Aggression is his final spell, which is basically forced and gains melee attack roll, a boost to melee attack
Basically
rolls.
turns whatever war beast in his battle group you want into a murder machine.
Yeah, and that's
to hit anything that he wants to.
Wild Aggression is always put on Ruck for me just because of the Berserk attack, so you can get a lot of work done with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So like to stop a lot of the internet fighting of like, well, obviously you should always be putting it on Mulg, and like, yes, it should go on Mulg a lot, but at the same point in time, don't discount it for enabling your less capable war beasts.
Yeah.
So the Axer works really well with
Yeah.
Wild Aggression on it.
Yeah.
When it goes up in Threshers.
Axers, hell, even an Impaler with Wild Aggression on it gets scary.
Yeah,
True,
with its
very
crit.
true.
Yeah, well, you don't get it on the ranged crit because it's only melee attacks for Wild
Oh,
Aggression.
melee, sorry.
But you know what? Nobody wants to eat four boosted power 13 attack rolls because you can charge for free, and first one's boosted. You can buy 3 more, and they're all boosted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty rough.
So, and then we go over quickly his feats, which is Doomshaper and Friendly Faction Warbeasts in his battle group, beginning their activation in his control, gain +3 speed and can charge or make slam, trample, power attacks without being forced. That is that's one way to get around all the slow troll beasts that
Yeah.
you have.
And like, and because of that feat, it's the reason I've only ever really seen Epic Doomshaper played one way, and that's here's a lot of beasts. Here's a lot of beasts in your grill. Are you alive?
Yeah.
Are you alive enough?
I'm really glad that in the Trollblood faction a caster like Epic Doomshaper exists, because oftentimes you kind of see the Trollbloods not wanting to take a ton of beasts, but they are probably some of the things that really attract people to the faction, so it's nice to have a caster that can allow you to experience that.
Yeah, and I mean, and the reason I don't feel Doomshaper 2 very much is because he doesn't have a large variety in gameplay. He tends to do 2 things really solid, and that's that rush, crush the army routine, followed up by primal shocking juicy targets.
Yep.
And the same trick that Doomshaper 1 does is that's I'm going to go Mulg to your face.
Yeah.
Um,
He's a very, very linear caster in how he does
so
things.
he doesn't have a huge amount of flexibility in his gameplay, but that doesn't make him bad, it just makes him a little one-dimensional.
Yeah, I do like Doomshaper 2 a lot. I have not had much experience or success with him. His previous counterpart, I have had major success
Well,
with.
I will say that the first Doomshaper is a more powerful figure because it does have more aspects to its gameplay, and that's the difference. Is a one-dimensional caster may be good, but if your opponent knows what that dimension is, they can plan for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes their plan may not help. You know, like it really is hard to swallow 3 or 4 dire trolls just jumping on your army before you're ready for them. But you know, if they can plan for it or they can wall it off with infantry well enough, it will stop your plan in its tracks. And he just doesn't have a good way of recovering from that.
Yeah. I think you have to fear the Earthborn a lot more with Epic Doomshaper if you're playing against it, because he can slingshot that guy from a really far distance.
Right. Well, I mean, if you want to run the fast math, odds are good you're going to have a Mauler in your battle group to put Rage on it because you'd rather have Rage than Rush.
Yeah.
But if that Earthborn's sitting in your rough terrain, it's movement 5 up to a 7 from the terrain, plus another 3 from the feats, putting him at basically 10, so it's a 13-inch charge.
And if you've got an opening spot, then Refuge can really do some work too.
You won't get extra attacks, but it will definitely, like...
Give you the extra distance.
Yeah, and there's a lot of casters where if you just park a dire troll next to the caster going, like, you want to give me a hug? You want to try walking away and I'll free strike you? You want to stay put so I can maul you next turn? Yeah. That's how Earthborns talk, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have that very New York thing going on. Joe Pesci raised them.
All of them, every last one. That's why they're so rare. So yeah, that's Doomshaper 2. He's not bad. He's not like the best thing ever. He's just a little targeted, which is probably why he doesn't see as much competitive play, because a targeted nature makes it hard to win in a tournament scene.
Very true. Very true. So we'll go ahead and switch over. We've kind of roughed over Doomshaper.
1. This is where the money's at.
Yep.
And not just Runes of War.
Not to talk about how good I was with Doomshaper. kind of sounds like in the past tense, but I should really
well,
bring
it
them
is.
into...
We've covered multiple times is do you even troll?
Yeah. My win-loss record with Doomshaper is 25-7.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's
So,
pretty good.
I mean, that's... if we're looking at percentage points here, we're looking at 78% of the time I take Doomshaper 1.
Wait,
I
those
win.
aren't stats. Those are Candy Crush.
No, those are stats. Those are actual stats from my games. So there you go. I could. There we go. There, see, look.
They're real stats. They're
Yeah,
not
they're
Candy
real
Crush.
stats. And they're not all games that I've taken down at the local game store. They're all games that I've taken at tournaments as well. So
Yeah. So like, let's talk Doomshaper before we bring runes into the equation.
what? Why would you want to
Because
possibly
he's still
bring
good
in runes?
outside of Runes of War.
He is okay. So let's look at Doomshaper here. Man, his spell list is amazing. I mean, for one thing, he's got Purification,
Yep.
which is seemingly nowadays a standard that you have to have on your caster for tournament play.
I wouldn't go quite to that level, but it's definitely a defining factor.
It's
It
something-
adds some real push, and it turns off certain army lists.
Helps out a lot.
Yeah.
It's something everybody wants.
So the spell list that he has, then he has Banishing Ward, which is pretty sexy. It allows that one unit that you choose or model to not be affected by spells.
Right. Which works really well in conjunction with Purification to stop things like Crippling Grasp becoming a real problem, even without the benefit of a sorcerer.
Correct. Fortune, which is really good, allows rerolls for all melee or
Yep.
for all attacks.
And that's one of the reasons that he's good outside of the theme force, because you put Fortune on a unit of Scattergunners,
or
Fire Eaters, anything else.
sluggers.
That's not going to help Sluggers.
I think every
No, you
slugger.
don't help
Sluggers
their
don't have
attack
an
rolls.
accuracy problem. Sluggers have a problem getting an opportunity to shoot problem.
I feel like every slugger needs to have a T-shirt modeled into the edge of its gun. Just there for that.
So we already went over Purification, which is his next spell. His other spell, which is an amazing spell, is Rampager.
If you forget about that one.
Yeah, it can be a game changing. If you can Rampager somebody's beast, so even if you walk it up and attack their caster, that's pretty cool. Or even if you walk it up and turn his ass around so you can kill it, so good. Or if you could just move it so it's further away, so it's out of the action. It's a really good spell.
My favorite Rampager story was somebody had a Warpwolf Stalker that had failed to kill my Mountain King. Yes, there was a Mountain King there. I moved, and this was I was going after the Mountain King and gotten primaled. So I moved up Doomshaper to within melee range to avoid the penalty. Rampagered that Stalker, walked the Stalker back to Kaya, and made a free strike. It made a mat 8 strike at Kaya with primal up. Hit her, nearly killed her. And then the following turn, because it was primaled, I was able to use
Frenzied?
Yep.
Oh, and then you could control which one
Yep.
goes to.
I was able to use the rare scroll on Doomshaper where you get to control where a frenzy goes, and the Stalker took another swing at Kaya.
Nice.
It boosted this time. No primal, though.
So Rampager, it's I think underutilized. I mean, there's a good reason why it's not used more than once per turn, but I don't see people utilizing it as much.
Well, it's on, I think, 2 casters, 3. I think it's Doomshaper, Veil, and Arcadius, and I think that's it.
Nope, Exelon Thexus.
Oh, right. So 4.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when I saw that on Exelon Thexus. He's my buddy on Facebook. I should paint this model.
Fancy story. I got these painting things going on over here.
Yeah, you're not really painting very much.
Hey,
Oh, Borka's making
So
progress.
Borka's coming along pretty well
Yeah.
over there.
It's hard to tell from the camera, but he's looking really good.
Yeah, it's pretty legit.
So, and then I think probably his most unsung spell that he has is Stranglehold, which it's an ability that if you damage a model with the spell, that model then has to forfeit its movement or activation, similar as if it was knocked down. Which it's a Power 11, so you might have a trouble actually damaging a model with it.
Most of the models you want to hit with it, you have problems like that.
Yeah. But when it does go off, it is so crucial because it's something that they cannot shake. It's a knockdown that they cannot shake.
Right. So
And-
basically, you peg an enemy War Beast from it that's within charge range but not within advanced range. Suddenly that War Beast can't charge you anymore.
Yep. So I've run into that where I've actually stranglehold one beast, and then I've rampaged the other one, so I killed it, and then he's like, "Oh, I can't do nothing."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Good job."
Yeah. So he's got a really solid spell list. His passive abilities are pretty generic. I think it's basically just.
Well, he's got great power, which is he can upkeep one spell for free, which is pretty sexy. He has goad, which is
we know how good that is.
so good. He has the scroll of will of Balasar, which you explained earlier, is where you can control
the frenzy target.
any frenzy target in your thing.
So I mean that scroll's used two ways. Either one of your things frenzies and you weren't expecting it, you can go like, I'd rather not have my Impaler maul the hell out of my Fellcaller. Let's have it go bolting someplace else. Or if the opponent has a model that frenzies, which they're not usually going to give you, you can have it go like, I think that model would rather turn around and chew on your Shepherd, you know.
Yeah, and that even overrides the normal targeting rules for frenzy. So even if the model is in melee range with it, you can actually have it frenzy something outside.
Well, you choose the frenzy target regardless. You can choose something out of line of sight. It just stops it from being a charge and turns it to an advance.
Correct.
So if always keep that in mind. Never ever plan for it, because it's never going to happen that way. But
when it does, it's usually pretty sweet, and your opponent hates you for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no one ever expects a game where their own War Beast takes two swipes at their caster, you know?
And then his feat, which is a very interesting feat. Man, I have caught people off guard on this.
Well, it seems straightforward, but it's remarkably subtle.
Yes. I agree. It's what it does is so subtle that it changes the game entirely. For every time that you force a War Beast or spend a focus
or Fury,
you take 1d6 points of damage
for each point spent.
Correct. So if you spend, for some odd reason, a 4-cost spell in his control area, you take 46 points of damage.
Yeah, and
in one shot.
To draw the math down on that one, if you're averaging about 3.5 per die, that's about 14 points of damage if you roll straight statistical average. But if you spike that damage, you can take a full health butcher and watch his head explode.
2 points in this. Two things that have happened. One, I felt very bad because I felt like I goaded the person into it. One where Terminus was in full control of taking out my army. I moved Moloch up. He smacked Terminus. Terminus got slammed against the wall. He was at maybe 4 health left or something like that. So he was knocked down, and Doomshaper's feet was up. My opponent, I'm not going to say who, he'll actually send me a text tomorrow telling me how much he hates me anyway. But
probably deserved.
Yeah, my opponent had a bunch of bile thralls, everything surrounding Doomshaper. All he had to do was just attack me, and I was dead. I had nothing else left. And so he goes in this control phase, and I asked him, I said, are you going to shake to stand up?
Yeah, and then
he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, no, I think I will. So then he rolled it. He spent the focus to stand Terminus up, and I said, okay, now you take d6 points of damage. Oh, you take 4 points of damage, so that kills you.
Yeah. Well,
and then it was a matter of like, then he made his tough check and failed, and then so Terminus died to that.
Well, and stuff like that happens too. Like the other thing is, it's whenever you spend a Fury or focus. So if someone you hit their opponent's Warcaster and they transfer damage, they take a d6 points of damage from it. Yeah. Now that can be transferred too, but then they'll take another d6 points of damage.
Yeah.
So if that's one of Nate's favorite troll stories is he had a caster that was at 4 health, and it's well, that attack will hit me. I transfer damage. Well, you take another 3. I transfer that. Well, you take another 4. Well, I transfer that. Well, you take 5. I'm out of Fury and I'm dead.
The other one, I will mention the name because he deserves it. Jeremy Shea.
Of course he deserves it.
He completely deserves it. He had Ron go up to Doomshaper, and he casts Force Hammer against Doomshaper while in his control area, which is if
it's a 3-cost
anybody
spell.
No, 4, which is a 4-cost spell. which immediately he took. At the time we thought it was only 3, so he took. I think I rolled 17. I rolled double
That might
sixes.
just kill him outright, yeah.
Yeah, it just exploded him outright.
Yeah. And so, like I said, the feat looks straightforward, but it's really subtle. On like Beasts and Jacks, it probably won't accomplish too much, because a full health Beast is going to take 3 sets of D6, and you're probably not going to kill anything.
Depends on the beast. If it's a light beast, it's possible that could take out like an animus of some sort.
But injured creatures are going to run serious risk of blowing out aspects just trying to accomplish something.
Correct.
So like he's really solid, and like all of these really good like abilities and techs are 100% outside of Runes of War.
Correct, and his feat, his theme force is amazing. It's a very good theme force. I mean, you have 4-point Rune Shaper or 3-point Rune Shaper units.
Honestly, if you had no other tier force benefits other than that, it would still be good. That's a really good unit that's getting a discount.
Yeah,
the walls are bonus, the fury is bonus, but he could survive without those. 3-point Rune Shapers are solid gold.
Yep.
So like we could discuss tactics on how to really use Runes of War, but it's such a strong theme list. There's not too much to really delve into it without getting into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, just don't play it against any kind of anti-magic forces.
Yeah. Then it goes home and cries.
Pretty much. It's like my incident where I ended up taking on Menoth or Protectorate versus Circle versus Gorshade 2.
Yeah.
And that was not a fun day. But overall, Runes of War is pretty solid. Doomshaper 1 is easily my favorite caster. I like Troll Hitler. If you don't know what I mean by Troll Hitler, go read some of the fluff about him. He is not a nice person.
No. Like if on the alignment scale, he was the most evil Trollblood caster in the list.
Very chaotic evil.
Yeah, he is in modern times he would be a monster.
Man, yeah, he would be completely chaotic evil. I was trying to think if he was like lawful evil, as in fighting for the Creel or something like that.
No.
Nope, he's just fighting for Doomshaper.
Well, no, he wants to help out the Creels. But here's why he's Trollblood Hitler. He believes in the superiority of Trollblood. Like, you take that statement on its own, coupled with the fact that like his prime model is like him just going out like this. Maybe if you remove that staff for a second, it starts looking like something else.
Yeah, somebody's throwing the hand up with like scoliosis or something.
Yeah. But we can move on to the next one. I think Doomshaper is solid. You don't need Runes of War to play him, but Runes of War is really good with some bad matchups.
Yeah. So somebody was asking, is this a rerun? Or has it been going for 9 hours? And sadly enough, it has been going on for, 8.5.
Yeah. Well, no, we just got to Trollblood Hitler. It can definitely be going on for 9 hours.
Jeez. Wow. Have you? Actually, I haven't put the bottle back up there. I should put the bottle back up. So this bottle.
Hey, we beat that bottle, okay?
Yeah.
We have won.
And we have done Borko 2 as well. He was one of our first casters. He was right after Borko 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just, we're going through them alphabetically through War Room. So
except the only thing that we're getting now I think we get Hunter's Grim, don't we?
We do get the Hunter's Grim now.
I like their name. It's really cool. Done. Next model.
That's it. We're done. We're done. We're no talking about his buddies and.
Well, the Hunter's Grim is a really hard caster for me to come to grips with. It does a lot of things, but not to a devastating effect.
Yeah, I've had very little experience with Hunter's Grim, other than just hearing around the bend that he's got a great assassination threat, and that's about all I've got. He still keeps the headhunter weapon.
Yeah, and that's basically it. Is the reason that so we can just kind of cover Grimm's abilities. We'll see if I can find on Andy's War Room here.
I've got him up right now. So
okay.
Just throw Andy's phone on the floor.
I will. So much porn. Well, why don't you give us a rundown on Grimm's particular abilities? Okay, I'll cover some of this. So it's a warlock unit. I'm certain you guys know, and if you didn't, please get out of your caves. Grimm himself's stats have not changed, other than his rat went up to 8. Which actually makes him a really good sniper. Headhunters rules. All headhunters changed around is instead of giving +2 inches and charge to models damaged by it, it's charged without being forced. So it's handy in a different way. It means that the stretch isn't quite as good, but you get more efficiency and damage out of it. The other thing is he no longer has his snare gun. He gave it to one of his little buddies. And the little buddies are what makes Grimm's unit really unique.
Unfortunately, one of them is named Crump.
I think Crump is unfortunately the good one, too.
Crump Crown can knock them all down. I'm hoping that he has the knockdown weapon because I'm going to copyright that phrase right now.
Let's see if I can find that stuff real quick. But either way, so the two little buddies have two separate sets of rules. One of them grants, while he's alive, grants the unit circular vision, and then has a special action to lay down some traps. The traps are actually really neat. It's a 5-inch AoE that if living or undead models enter the AoE without flight or incorporeal, they take a power 10 hit, and if they're damaged by it, they're knocked down.
I've not played with Grimm 2 at all.
They're tricky.
I got out of, like I said, I got out of Trolls and started playing like Mercenaries right around the time that he really popped out.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah. So, but those traps are actually really nifty, and the reason the reason the traps are useful is you take things like a Warpwolf Stalker and you lay down that pie plate. The Warpwolf Stalker is only armor 17. If it takes that power 10 hit and you roll an 8, it falls over and its activation is done.
True.
You can really protect some software units from those Blitzkrieg kind of style runs from living war beasts or enemy models, because most of them just don't like taking the power 10, and the knockdown's added bonus. The catch being flight and constructs like Jax don't give a damn. So that's what one of the buddies does. The other buddy is a walking snare gun. He gives the unit reform, and he can fire off that snare gun.
Yep.
He's only Rat 6 on like the previous Grimm's 7, so he's not as good with it, and since he's not the caster, you can't boost it.
That would be correct. He's part of the caster unit, but he's not. He
Right.
cannot spend fury like a caster
Now
would.
the flip side being is that now you can fire both the snare gun and Grimm's headhunter in the same round.
Very true.
Some other things that popped up are Grimm 2 lost his ability to plane see through stealth. Instead, he gained a spell called Mage Sight, which basically means that him and his battle group can ignore stealth and see models in the area of effect without any problems. It's an interesting trade-off. It means you have to spend more fury to get to the same objective, and you can't have that full 17-inch extension to get that done. But you can still use it to make him and his battle group piss off a stealth caster or important stealth units. Or in some cases, I've even used it to be able to draw a line of sight past a forest, just so I can throw like bomber bombs and scatter them.
Yep.
He's got Pursuit, which I personally haven't found a lot of use for on Epic Grimm. It's neat. It's good to have, but I often feel that the way Trollbloods operate, if you're using Pursuit a lot, it means you're playing on the backfield. Your opponent has the upper hand, and you're trying to regain it. So I'm not going to dismiss it, but
I find Pursuit as being very useful in certain instances, especially if you're trying to control a zone.
Yeah.
It allows you to be able to escape that zone, or allows you to potentially move away.
Yeah.
If that beast moves up to attack. The other things, basically, it's very corner case. I do like the spell, but it's very corner case.
Yeah, so I mean, there's limited application there. He's got another spell, Mirage. I don't know if you're familiar with that one or not, but basically it's just an upkeep spell that doesn't do anything the turn you cast it ever. If you upkeep it though, then the models in the unit can get placed 2 inches during the start of the control phase. So usually the use for that is to disengage your ranged troopers. Be it moving your scattergunners outside of melee so they can just aim and fire down their scatterguns, or when I tried using the sluggers to get them to get out of melee in the first place and get to shoot at all.
You use sluggers.
We're not perfect here, okay?
I haven't even assembled my sluggers. They're still sitting in a blister going, "Why won't you assemble me? We're so awesome looking." Yes.
No, I haven't assembled
Yes,
them.
you
They're
are.
doing a better job of holding down the shelf than they would on the table.
Tell us how you really feel.
I
Yeah.
think I did.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty honest response there.
So that's.
You
what
forgot
was I
about
talking
mortality.
Oh no, I didn't forget. I was saving the best for last.
Oh, okay.
Because mortality is what makes Epic Grim scary.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, God.
he's got a non-upkeep spell that basically takes target enemy model unit, -2 defense, -2 armor, no healing, and I think that's about it. That's it. You know.
Yeah, it's a really balls out spell. It's an
'cause
amazing spell.
nothing will cripple an opponent's army like saying you don't have tough and my army kills you easier.
Yes, very true.
Like the all too common like boom howlers like super tough shield. Just taking that entire unit and saying defense 10, armor 14, and no tough makes the unit weep.
Yep.
And because it's not upkeep, it means that if you have the wherewithal, you can cast it multiple times through either Grim or the Rune Bear. We didn't talk about the Rune Bear.
That's because he's an attachment and not part of a unit or
Yeah.
anything.
That is very true. We
It doesn't.
completely missed the Rune Bear.
Rune Bear's
Roses.
pretty good. You should take him.
Yeah. Well, we'll go over quick 2 spells with them. Actually, hold on.
Yeah. Well, just put what Rune Bear redacted. Yeah, the Rune Bear doesn't do anything, so to speak, on his own. He makes your one of your spells cost 1 less, and you can cast 1 spell for free during the game.
In the time that it took you to respond to that or tell me what he does, I messed up trying to put it in.
Yeah. So I mean, that's quotation marks all it does. But Trollbloods, their casters are actually pretty fury hungry. So being able to make one of their spells cost 1 less, particularly with most of our casters being Fury 6 or 5, makes a really big difference.
I would say probably the best casters with him currently is like Jarl, Horlock, both versions of Horlock.
Jarl, the Horlocks, Calandra, and P. Madrak.
Yep, are the ones that really want
Yeah.
the Rune Bear.
Gunbjorn benefits from him, but you know why polish a turd?
You shouldn't make anything easier for his life.
It makes his life easier if you're just gonna flush it.
That is true too. Catbug approves.
Yeah, so just generally useful. The big tricks with that Rune Bear are don't forget that you can just pop out an extra offensive spell at extra range. It's the closest thing Trollbloods are going to have to an Arc Node.
Yeah, I don't think Trollbloods will ever get an Arc Node.
I don't think it'd help them much.
Primal Shock's probably the closest thing to an Arc Node.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
but that's what the spell does.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trollbloods don't have a lot of spells that benefit massively from being arced. So even if Trollbloods got an Arc Node, it would be like that's a neat rather than like yes, finally.
Yeah, either that or Calandra could probably use one. I think she would benefit from it.
Calandra would
Being
use it.
able to cast Calamity from further away was pretty. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking Gristle.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
thinking Grizzle, but being
Yeah.
able to cast Force Hammer from
Force
farther away,
Hammer,
or
yeah.
Befuddle.
Ah, true. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it wouldn't be like oh my god, he gave us an Arc Node, go to hell. It would be more of a like that's neat. What else?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Rune Bear in a nutshell. The big thing that new novice players will forget is you can't take that Rune Bear with Borka because Borka already has an attached model, Prime Borka.
Correct.
Um,
And for Who's the Boss as well, if you end up getting a caster that has an attached model, such as like Darylis or something like that in your Trollblood army, you can't take the Rune Bear. You have to make a choice between that caster's attachment or Rune Bear.
because Who's the Boss is a big tactical experience.
To be perfectly honest, you wouldn't be surprised, or you might be surprised by how popular Who's the Boss is.
Oh, I know how popular it is, but building tactics for Who's the Boss is kind of like
Some people take it a little bit more seriously than they should.
I might have spent some time thinking about what I'm going to play.
You were asking about that too, and I'm like, well, for one thing, number one, don't play Kador.
Yeah.
And I think that was the faction you were trying to play.
No, I
Or
had
you were
switched
thinking
over
about it.
to the dark side of Crix.
Crix and Who's the Boss works out very well because you have Arc Nodes and you have troops that don't care what the hell's going on.
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's a good way to go.
So let's cycle back to Hunter's Grim.
Yep.
So basically, mortality makes one unit you want as good as dead. Cycle it through the Rune Bear to get an extra shot out with mortality to just kind of make things even more dead. I guess I'm saying mortality makes things dead.
Yeah, Mortality is really good.
It's hands down the best spell he's got in his card, and he's got a pretty solid list.
It's kind of crazy how mortality results in death.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like there's something there.
I don't get it.
Jesus. All right, I'm going to change the subject right now. All right,
Move on to his feet.
we already talked about his feet,
No,
didn't
we
we?
didn't. No, we didn't touch it.
Oh my God,
the
we
big
spent like
deal.
20 minutes on Hunter's Grim.
Hunter's Grim
Rune
is-
Bear.
Hunter's Grim is one of those guys, though, that like I don't think a lot of people have a lot of experience with him. So
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has really experience playing against him or with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so, like, his feat is once again a Trollblood, have 2 abilities for everybody. So basically, everything gets the Signar and Scouts mark the target. So if an enemy model is within 5 inches of a friendly model with mark the target, then they mark the target's probably the wrong name, but then friendly faction models get +2 in the ranged attack rolls against them.
Yep.
The other perk being is every friendly faction model in his control area gets snipe. It's an extra 4 inches of range. You're not going to be able to stack it with the Impaler or anything else, but it means you also don't need the Impaler for that round to do that. So the way the Hunter's Grim tends to play is they either pop the feat fairly early and just unload a lot of long-distance accurate firepower into the opponent's army, or they actually kind of hold on to that feat until you get the Trollblood mix it up kind of routine. And suddenly having snipe on everything means that your entire army is in range of their caster.
Yes. The overall snipe for everybody in your army is actually really pretty sweet.
Yeah, like models that are normally going to go to melee just as a default, like the Burrowers, are instead going to go, we can be range 8 or at 8 if we aim?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll shoot that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's where if the Sluggers got a UA, they would find a really good home with Epic Grim.
Epic Grim is probably the best caster for them right now regardless.
Yeah.
Because Mirage means they can disengage and fire their guns, and the one turn of Snipe is usually all they really need to keep some momentum. But even then, Mirage I've found has been a better spell on like Scattergunners, or when I get to play more with the Highwaymen. I have horrible dreams of having the Highwaymen and Brelinda where they just go, I'm Mirage, I'm in your back arc, I shoot the hell out of you, then I shoot your caster.
Seems like a good deal.
Yeah, I need to change my pants. Yeah, so it's nothing saves the sluggers.
Just use this.
That's
No.
not gonna help.
So that's generally the 2 ways you're going to see Grim use his feat. The rest of it is just kind of handing out mortality to make sure the opponent's army is dying as they get to you, and he takes a lot more of those hybrid, like close ranged units that have some melee capability to them.
Yeah.
Like Scattergunners, because the Scattergunners, the sprays are good, but if you have some at target with mortality, you can roll up there with quick work and actually kill a lot of stuff. Just quick work and fire off guns. The big trick with Grim is he loses some of his flexibility once his pig friends start dying. Once the actual hunters go, they lose the really cool reform to keep Grim safe. They start the 360 vision you can give or take, but like the big thing is if you lose that snare gun, the snare guns enable so many other assassination vectors.
Yep.
That it hurts. On the plus side, because they're a unit, you can use the Chronicler on them. Goofy piece of tech I don't think I'll ever use. You can use the Chronicler to give them Tail of Mist, so they've got concealment and feign death, and then walk into their own trap field, and if they take damage, they fall down, and you can't target them because they've got feign death. You can do it. I don't think you ever should, but you can do it. And I happened to be once an accident.
Okay.
So, well, I had put up the trap field and had concealment on the squad, and somebody actually telekinesis me into the traps.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I fell down and was suddenly feigned death, so they couldn't shoot me with any more spells.
Nice.
It didn't help me any when the Warpwolf Stalker still walked up and murdered my face, but he couldn't use any more spells on me.
Yeah, you couldn't shoot you with any kind of ranged attacks
Right.
or magical attacks.
Yeah.
But if he hits you with a sword attack, as you punch my microphone, yes.
Yeah.
But if he hits you with a sword attack, yeah, you can't really block that.
Nope.
No.
Like I said, bad piece of tech, but funny interaction.
Yes.
All right. What have we got? Ooh, I think it's my favorite.
I think we're on
My
Megaro.
favorite.
I thought you said Doomshaper 1 was your favorite. We're covering Doomshaper 1 again?
No, I have 2 favorites.
Bringing
That-
it back around.
That doesn't work.
No, I can have 2. I can have as many favorites as I want.
That sounds like you sound like a parent now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't want one to kill the other, so I'm going to designate both my favorites.
I don't think the Warlocks were quite like the Highlander rules, where there can only be one in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. So there could be multiple favorites.
No, there's still a favorite and a runner-up. They just don't.
Even just by a
No.
little bit.
No.
Like, one of them has blue eyes, and you really like blue eyes. That makes them a little bit better, doesn't it?
Well, if really truth has to be told, then I like Doomshaper more.
And that's where you're wrong.
Actually, I really like Jarl.
Yeah, I have yet to play a game with Jarl where he couldn't accomplish what I really wanted him to do. Doesn't mean I haven't lost games with him, but he is always capable of doing some stuff to keep your opponent on their back feet.
Yep. So I guess we'll probably go over some of his stuff
Yes.
real quick. He has got 2 rune pistols, which he can fire twice in a turn without.
Well, once each.
Once each, but I mean he could fire those. Yes, once each.
Yeah. And I think the only rule they've got is Black Penny, and that's all they need.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Black Penny is such a good spell or a good ability.
Yeah. So no penalty for shooting into melee.
He is also evasive, so if you shoot him or attack him,
You left
in
over his
melee-
other weapon.
What?
He's got an axe named Sword.
He doesn't have an axe named
Yes, he
Sword.
does.
Oh, he has an axe named Sword.
Yes, if you check his figure,
But
he's
it-
got an
but it-
axe, but it's called Sword in his card.
That is a little obnoxious, but it has no other abilities on it except for
Yeah.
other than Sword,
Yeah, but it's
which
an axe
which
named
is a
Sword.
POW 10 sword.
Yeah,
so
which you
he's-
probably shouldn't be using. The only reason you
No.
should ever use that axe is because you can only ever get 2 shots of those rune pistols, but if you need 3 attacks, you need to be using that axe instead of the pistols. Because Jarl's got Gunfighter.
Yep. So I mean, he's got evasive, which is really good, which means that he cannot be targeted by free strikes, and he can advance 2 inches after an enemy range attack misses him.
Yeah.
So that can
Which-
pull him out of somebody's
The
somebody's
most
attack
common
range.
use I see for that is the enemy takes a pot shot at Jarl to soften him up, misses because Jarl's defense can be decent enough, and
Yep.
he just steps back 2 inches and goes, I'm out of charge range now.
Yep. He also has Swift Hunter, which if you play Lilith 2, which means that whenever he gets a kill with one of his range attacks,
Yeah.
he can immediately move 2 inches.
Which actually a fun interaction with Gunfighter means he can actually shoot something in melee with Gunfighter, step over 2 inches, and shoot something else with a regular ranged attack.
Mm.
Or shoot something else with Gunfighter ranged attack, take your pick, and then make another 2-inch step.
So in true Jeff fashion, I'm going to go over the spells here in rank of awesomeness. So his first spell that he has is Willed Secrets,
Yes.
which gives the models camouflage and Pathfinder, which is actually fairly useful in Trollbloods.
It is definitely his worst spell, but being able to basically take a unit and say like, okay, you've got Pathfinder is good, like, especially in like Sons of Bragg,
Yep.
and in an army that has access to the Chronicler, where you can give any unit you want concealment, you can basically combine that with concealment to basically give any unit you want +4 defense.
Also, a note: the reason why I like him so much is that spell is not friendly faction. It is just friendly.
Oh yeah.
So he could put it on anything he wants. So to go over my quick thing, I won the Runes of War army. I chose Jarl Skuld as my secondary caster because I did not own any other trolls. So I built an army that was just basically filled with Jarl Skuld with an Earthborn, an Impaler,
mercenaries.
and the rest was all mercenaries and minions. It worked out pretty damn
Yeah.
good.
Jarl is such a strong, independent warlock. You can put him with just about anything and make
Yep.
it work. There are probably stronger configurations than others, but he is very independent.
Yep. His next spell will go up the list here, which actually goes in the order of awesomeness. So his first spell is probably his best spell. Going down to the bottom of the list is actually his worst spell. So his second spell, which is Tactical Supremacy,
Yep.
pretty awesome. He can target friendly model unit can advance up to 3 inches after all models have ended their activations on your turn.
Yeah, and this is usually used one of two ways. Either you put it on Jarl himself so he can move up, shoot a little bit further, and then just back up a little bit to keep himself safe.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Really?
No, I've never done that.
You're Jarling wrong.
No, I'd actually throw it on my boom hollers.
Yeah,
so
well,
I can get them further into
that's
their
the other
face.
use. Is basically it's just to get another 3 inches of your models into their face.
Yes.
It's used a lot for, like, you can take some of the things that are normally stationary, like a thumper, and go, I'm going to shoot my thumper. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and use my tactical supremacy to shift 3 inches. So on its next turn, it's 3 inches closer, and I don't have to move it.
Yep. His next spell, which I feel works excellent on wonderful
anything you want.
On anything you want, which is Quicken.
Yeah.
I think works best on Nis Hunters.
It's such a good spell. I can't say it works best at anything.
It works really on anything. Anything plus 2 defense is
it works
really
well on
good.
Nis Hunters because they're speed 7 and they're Pathfinder, and then speed 9 with Pathfinder is pretty damn awesome too.
It is.
But you want to know what else is awesome? Taking speed 4 warders and making them speed 6. So, and those aren't Pathfinder, but it helps their speed out. So
speed 9 Tuffalo.
Yeah, speed 9 Tuffalo, or like you look at the Fen Blades, their charge threat range goes from 13 inches with no quarter to 15 inches with no quarter, and that's still making attacks.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Awesome. That goes with his final ability. Generally also, if you ever take a draw, you have to take an Impaler.
Yeah.
It's honestly almost an auto-include in his list. I mean, that 5 points that he has for his battle group, 6 points.
Yeah, he's a 6-point beast.
Yeah. For 5 of those 6 points has to go to an Impaler.
Yeah.
He really, really likes that Far Strike Animus.
Yeah, because basically, and the last spell's the big reason for it, because he's got Magic Bullet.
Yes.
Shared only with him and Epic Cane.
Yes.
So
that is the be-all, end-all, F-all to ridiculously awesome solos in a force.
Because here's the difference. Assuming that none of the targets have stealth or anything major like that, between Far Shot and Magic Bullet, your opponent is either hiding behind something and you can Magic Bullet off of that to hit them, or the opponent's out in the open and a range 16 hand cannon can probably reach them.
Yep.
So, like, with that one Impaler floating around, you can threaten important pieces most of the board.
About 21 inches. I mean,
yeah.
At minimum, they're about 21 inches away. I mean, it's possible you can go up to 22. It depends on how how much overlap the base is. Or even if you hit a large base like a Colossal, it can go even further than that because you can Magic Bullet 4 inches
and
off
for those
of
of you who have not been punished with Magic Bullet or haven't had the benefit of using it, Magic Bullet gets around half of the defensive tech in the game, if not more. All it takes is basically you cast it on one of your models. The next range attack that hits, you can pick another model within 4 inches of the model hit to take a power 12 magic damage roll. Here's why it's awesome. Line of sight doesn't matter. You just pick something within 4 inches, it takes the hit. You're not targeting it. So if they can't be targeted by magic attacks, it doesn't matter. You like I said, between that and line of sight, it means that you can get past stealth from the Magic Bullet bounce. You can get past no magic attacks. You can get past no ranged attacks. There is very, very few items in the game that will stop a Magic Bullet bounce from hitting you, and I can't even think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah. Even Kennedy isn't safe from a Magic Bullet.
It wasn't safe from a regular.
That's why it's called Magic Bullet.
Kennedy was actually not safe from the Magic Bullet. It was the governor of Texas that was not safe from the Magic Bullet. Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah.
Governor Connolly, I think it was, that took the Magic Bullet.
I'm not even going to get into it. Bottom line is Magic Bullet is a very intimidating spell.
Yes.
Because it means that if they've got important solos that are squishy, they have to keep it more than 4 inches away from the models they're trying to support.
Such as like Cephalix. Cephalix really relies on a lot of its support models, and if you're able to just basically plank one of them off, they can't.
You can't sack pawn or shield
sack
guard.
pawn it or shield pawn. Shield pawn. Fuck. Shield guard.
Shield guard. Basically, the Magic Bullet hits that soft, squishy Cephalix, and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Makes me full of kills.
Yeah, so it just disables so many effects, and like even against factions that have other major like safe models, Magic Bullet gets around so much of it. Those Blackbane Raiders that are in Corporal with Jarl, bottom of turn 1, I fixed the whole problem. I far-shotted Jarl, I used Magic Bullet on him, he shot some random schmuck in those Blackbanes. Yeah, I shot some guy in the ground on the Blackbanes, and then bounced the Magic Bullet 3 inches up the hill onto the leader who was elevated, and murdered him.
Yep.
And nothing you can do about it. He lost the leader of those Blackbanes, so no more respawning Blackbanes anymore.
I guess the one thing to mention about Jarl as well, that his guns are magical.
Yep.
So he doesn't give two shits about Incorporeal.
So yeah, you have to be both stealthy and more than 4 inches away from something that's not stealthy to really be safe from Jarl's guns.
I guess we should probably go over his feat.
Yeah, his feat's really good too.
So he has the ability to place D3 plus 3 4-inch AoEs anywhere in it completely within his control area. These AoEs do not block friendly faction line of sight, which means if you're playing it with a bunch of minions of beasts, they can't see through it.
Mm-hmm.
And while the AoE friendly faction models can advance through terrain and obstacles without penalty, so it gives basically give Pathfinder for the army, and they can see through the clouds because they're a friendly faction. And enemies, while they're in the living enemy models, while within suffer a -2 to attack rolls. Rolling fog lasts for 1 round.
Yeah.
So with D3 plus 3,
4 to 6.
you could put down a lot of 4-inch AoE clouds.
Yeah, so the most common use you're going to see for this is usually like a turn bottom of 1 or a top of 2, like cloud bank, where the opponent just can't see your army past the clouds you're laying down, which has led a lot of people to believe it's useless against Legion, which is a dirty, dirty lie. Legion does not like having their mat stat messed with,
No.
and so unless they're shooting at you, they're going to get stuck in one of those clouds because you can definitely arrange for their beasts to be in there. I also like the feat because it can also be used in an offensive sense. If your opponent thinks they've gotten the upper hand by clearing off all your relevant Pathfinder or clogging lines of fire with your own models from your beasts, you can lay down those templates and they let you move past friendly faction models with other faction models, and they give you Pathfinder.
Does it actually?
Yeah.
It gives Pathfinder.
Yeah.
I know the overview of it.
It's better than Pathfinder because it's not Pathfinder, but you ignore difficult terrain. It's one of the few ways you can walk past Prime Boulder's feet.
Yep. The reason why I was saying that is because I just gave an abridged version because I don't want to read directly from the rules itself because I don't want to be sued by Privateer.
Seems fair.
But that's actually really, really awesome.
Yeah, so the feat has a lot of flexibility. 2 out of 3 games, it's going to be the fog bank where the opponent can't see you or get you.
Yeah.
But basically the way Jarl's gameplay works is he just, early in the game, he can hit you with a really hard jam because of Quicken, and then the rest of the game he is just plunking away at the support pieces with Magic Bullet and Black Penny. Because it doesn't matter if the thing you want to shoot's in melee, he can still fire at it with no extra penalty, bounce a bullet off of it, and into a caster. Games against Saren where you can't target my beasts in melee, she has to worry about herself because if she's not close to her beasts, you've got line of sight to her, you can shoot her.
Well, not
if she's
even
close
then.
to her beast, you shoot the beasts and bounce some bullets into her, and she doesn't like that either.
Well, even then though, Magic Bullet is really good against Legion because you're able to take out those support models.
Yep.
Like the little shepherd sitting over there behind a wall that you can't normally get to because he's defense 18 or whatever it is.
Yep.
You could just Magic Bullet into it, or the Forsaken
You
there.
shoot that defense 11 Ravagore, you ignore the power 12 on the Ravagore, and the shepherd eats a power 12 instead.
Yep. I mean, it's so good. It's really good against pirate boats because you have all those really awesome solos that can't normally be hit by certain things.
Yep.
Can be hit by Magic
There's
Bullet.
so many sucker and sacrificial pawns and shield guards, and you just plunk him away.
Yep.
So he just shuts a lot of that stuff down, and I want to actually bring up his theme list here. I know we haven't talked a lot about those, but I think Jarl's theme list has actually got a lot of really good potential.
I have not tried it yet. So
I have run it to a lot of success. Basically, like the tier 1 bonuses, if I'm remembering right, and I'm actually going to grab the book to make sure I'm not misquoting this one.
oh, what the hell?
I wants the book with Jarl in it. Can I have it? And the goods grammar?
That's not it.
Yeah, that's the one. Alrighty. So what Jarl's theme tiers bonuses are, I'm not going to read these word for word just because nobody wants to hear that.
Oh my god, I clicked on it again.
You have a problem. Seriously. Alright. So the tier 1 bonus is actually 2-part. and a lot of people don't realize it either. +1 to your starting roll, and Crow Warriors gain advanced move. So your Speed 5 Crow Warriors are now 5 inches past your deployment zone. It's almost like having advanced deploy.
Yep.
Tier 2 bonus. If you've got 2 scatter gunner units, the second one gets a free UA. We discussed previously that scatter gunner UA is the best part of that unit. So you take 2 minimum squads of them, you get UAs on both of them. The Tier 3 bonus, as long as you've got 3 or more units, which I'm assuming you're taking Crow Warriors for the Tier 1 bonus and scatter gunners for the Tier 2, you probably have 3 units. So everything in your entire army gets Pathfinder the first round. Normally, Draw's list can't have Fell Callers, so you think that'd be a concern, but having Pathfinder right out of the gate means that those Crow Warriors, who are 5 inches past your deployment zone, have Pathfinder on the most relevant turn of the relevant start.
And they can personally hoof it as well.
Yeah, they can sure foot it.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is you put Quicken on that unit of Crow Warriors. They're speed 7 now. You Swift Foot, so they can run a grand total of 16 inches with Pathfinder, and they're already 5 inches ahead of your deployment zone. By the way, you've also had +1 your starting roll, so the odds are you went first. Those Crow Warriors are now, let's see here, let's roll my math real quick here, 16, 21.
23.
Yeah. So they're 23 inches up the board, likely before your opponent has had a chance to move. To make things more bitter for your opponent, they're quickened. They're defense 14 against shooting them, and the list lets you take a Stone Scribe Chronicler, so they can have concealment. They can be defense 16, armor 15 against shooting.
Or if for some odd reason you're able to get into melee with them, that Chronicler could actually have
Hero Strategy instead.
Hero Strategy on them, so any models you move out to engage them will be knocked out.
Yeah, so your Crow Warriors are super far up the field, and that's far enough you can actually start walling people out of the control zones.
Yep. Easily with half.
And so here's the extra perk is now your opponent has to try to deal with unclogging those Crow Warriors. You've got 2 units of scatter gunners with clear coming up the backfield to help deal with the problem. I'd mentioned this tier 4 bonus, but I don't think it's actually worth it. You have to take 3 light beasts, and that's not worth the trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, but that theme force has gotten me a lot of very strong games because it's got such a hard first turn push with a first turn roll bonus, and it doesn't cut out enough substantial models to be a problem. It cuts out the Rune Bear, which a lot of people are upset about, but you can manage, and you can still take any of the war beasts you want with Jarl. So it's really solid. And as an extra kicker, for some reason you can take the Sons of Brag because Trollbloods?
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, Jarl, I have yet to get a game in with Jarl where I haven't felt there wasn't some solution I could do. Outside of, like, my opponent is playing Karchev, and all that's left on the table is Karchev and a Conquest.
It was kind of an interesting game. I played against a player down in Chicago where we had a Jarl versus Jarl list. Which sounds pretty horrible, but it was a Jarl pure Trollbloods versus Jarl all minions and mercenaries. I actually won.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Quicken on this is good. Defense 17 versus shooting and speed 9 this are terrifying.
Some nice slaughterhousers in there as well.
Yeah, speed 7 slaughterhousers are no joke.
Yep. Boom howlers. I actually ran a pretty solid Jarl list with just himself. I did change it up. I think I actually threw a Blitzer in his list because I wanted the...
Because you've got a sadistic relationship with Blitzers.
Yeah, well, but he's... I mean, I guess a bomber works well with him, but I
don't like taking ranged beasts with Jarl, actually.
Really?
No, I take melee beasts with him. Like the loadout and the theme list that I was talking about. A Mauler, an Earthborn, and an Impaler. The Impaler is just there to help out Jarl.
Yeah, obviously.
Because Jarl's magic bullets and Rat 7 shots are usually enough infantry control to take care of a lot of the harder targets.
Yep.
And most of the army is going to have a problem hitting hard. So what I've got is an Earthborn I can drop both Quicken and Rage on.
Sure.
So that Earthborn can bolt up 5, 7, 10-inch charge, 12 if you started in your difficult terrain, which why not?
Yep.
And cause some serious damage. And yeah, it might die, but I've still got the Mauler in back that I can use Wield Secrets to give him Pathfinder and Quicken if I need to give him speed instead.
That makes sense.
And I still have Rage I can pass out.
Sure. My original makeup of Jarl consisted of an Earthborn. It was an Earthborn Impaler was the original makeup. I did end up switching it to a Blitzer, but the other heavy that I always brought there is I always brought Wrong Eye and Snapjaw, just because. His Wrong Eye and Snapjaw are pretty sweet too, but they'll go over a different subject here.
Yeah, so it's... Yeah, Jarl is hands down my favorite Trollwood caster. I haven't played him a lot lately just because it's felt a little stagnant going, like, I shoot out all your support pieces and then I slowly pick apart your army.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is irritating for your opponents. So if you're playing friendly games, it's super irritating for them to go like, all these cool support pieces I wanted to play with are dead turn 2.
Yes.
So yeah, Jarl is fantastic. He's got a lot of solutions and he's really dangerous.
I agree. All right, let's go into our next second to last caster.
What do we got left? We've got... Are these really just Madraxes?
These are Madrax.
Yeah.
Madrak Ironhide, the Battle Box Caster Supreme.
Okay.
So, should I just go over the spells and all the other
why don't you go over Bricky McBrickenstein?
Bricky McBrickenstein. Well, he's got an awesome thrown weapon, which is only a POW 7.
He throws the end of the world.
But he does have an ability that adds his strength to that POW, so it's a POW 15. So that's an amazing ability. Additionally,
more amazing with the
if he hits with the thrown axe, he has Snapfire, which means he can make another melee attack again.
He has to kill with that.
He has to kill with it.
Yeah.
It used to be Mark 1 used to ricochet off of things like a magic bullet.
Ricochet was super broken because it was like magic bullet but better.
Yeah, with a POW 15.
Yeah. Here, catch the bouncing axe. Wait, what?
Yep. So before we go into his melee, he still has a POW 15.
Yep.
Madrak is probably one of the best, I would say one of the better melee casters. Still Mat 7. Yeah. POW 15.
Except I don't think I've ever had Madrak swing his axe and be actually at Mat 7. It's always better.
That is true. He has Talisman of Subdual, which means he cannot be charged or slam power attack by a war beast that began in its front arc.
Yeah, that's actually a really important perk, especially against some of these newer Beast Horde armies.
Yep.
Being able to dangle him out front in front of like Absolunthia's entire army when she's got just beasts and maybe a shepherd.
Yeah.
And go like, the only person who's charging me is Abby. What are the rest of you going to do?
Exactly. You can get around that by charging something else.
Yeah, but if you have Madrak like dangling like 5 inches away from everything else, he's just like, yeah, what do you got?
That was not the chair.
It was always the chair.
Then he has also the Scroll of Grimdar's Perseverance, which means if he's hit by a melee attack or hit by an attack, he could just say, nope.
Yeah,
done.
He gets once per game, like, I don't agree.
Yeah.
And later on in the game, people can forget that that's a thing, and they'll put some resources on there, and you just say, nope.
Yeah, it works basically as almost like a transfer, like a free transfer.
It's especially relevant on things like the Angelius's like first armor-piercing strike.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like that one doesn't count. You can bring the rest of them, but that one's not good.
Yep, so additionally, Wrathrock, when he throws it or when he uses a melee, has a critical effect, which is Grievous Wounds.
Yeah.
Which is a very important thing to remember.
Yeah, it can be terrifying in Hordes because it stops the transfers, and even against other factions, the no more healing after that crit effect.
Yes.
Like, nothing makes your opponent bitter like shredding an arm off a Warjack and the mechanics going, I don't know what the next step is.
Does it affect repairs, too? I thought it was just...
it can't be healed, but...
Cannot be healed, so I think
repairs might still work.
Repair might still work, but Warbeast, though, like, if you hit a Warbeast with it, that means, like, Getarex, who has his spirit out, just means that Getarex is like, fucked.
I don't care anymore.
I don't care. His spells are Carnage, which is +2 to melee attack rolls against enemy models in his control area.
Which admittedly is small, but...
Yeah, his control area is only 10, so... he has Stranglehold, which we talked about with Doomshaper. Is kind of
it's
mediocre.
Much less relevant on the Fury 5 caster.
Yeah, I mean, it costs 2 to cast, and then he's obviously going to boost a hit and boost the damage.
Well, most of the time I'm casting Stranglehold with P. Madrak is because whatever I'm shooting at is knocked down. Because I'm almost guaranteed the hit, and I can get the damage roll. Then all the knockdown model can do is stand up and go, my turn's done.
Okay, if it's knocked down, then it's only 2 costs, and it costs at least 1 point for damage, because generally you're going to want to boost that damage.
And then you're out of Fury because you've probably not keeping the next spell.
Yep, Surefoot. Which makes it so target friendly faction model gains +2 defense and cannot be knocked down.
Yeah.
And then while within 3 inches of it, affected models gain +2 defense, it cannot be knocked down as well. So that just is an awesome ability versus The knockdown casters like Barnabas, like Krios, they just like, oh, what? I can't.
Krios is less the problem because you can at least purify beforehand, but
Yeah.
not being able to knock down your figures is particularly important, especially in a faction where just about every infantry model you can field has tough.
Correct.
Like your opponent was going to get super bitter when they spent 3 models killing off a single champion, and you roll that tough check, and the champion's just standing there like, what was happening? I think I'm going to kill you now. Yeah.
And then the final thing we'll go over here real quick is his feat, which is Crusher, which was fixed in the first errata because it's in
It
the War
doesn't
Room
last
here.
forever anymore?
It doesn't last forever anymore because we're reading from War Room, and that has been updated. So while in his control area, friendly faction models gain overtake. Additionally, when they destroy one or more models with a melee attack, the enemy model is in the control area, in Madrak's control area. Friendly model can make an additional melee attack. So Crusher just can basically just move and
So
murder everything.
The important part with Crusher is actually it's 2 parts, which is strange. So the friendly faction models in your control area get overtake. So if the enemy models outside of your control area and you kill them, you get the overtake step regardless. The bonus attack only works if the enemy model is in your control area.
Correct.
So you have to make certain if you want the bonus attack, the enemy is within your control area as well. It usually lines up pretty well with his use of the spell Carnage because they have to be in the area for Carnage to work. But most of the time what you're going to see happen with P. Madrak is Madrak himself or 1 or 2 War Beasts on that feat turn is going to have Carnage rolling, and they're going to murder 8 to 10 figures on their own.
Yeah.
Is they'll just go, I've got a Mat 8 attack, you're dead. I've got another Mat 8 attack, he's dead. And they're just going to continue doing that. And that's usually how a lot of the Madrak brick style works. Is everything crowds around whatever's got Surefoot, the army moves up next to Unstoppable and Unkillable, and then it just spreads out like a virus, killing whatever it can under the feet. If you're lucky, the opponent left you a straight shot from Madrak to mow through the opponent's infantry straight to their caster without spending a single point of fury to do it.
Yep.
And that's generally how he goes. The tricks of the trade are usually opting to use ranged attacks when a melee attack was what was expected. You get a good knockdown and you throw that axe into something. It's hard to walk away from a power 15 hit like that. So it's... And if you've got a Mauler, you can take it up to 18 because it's thrown. You got a Krellstone, it can be up to power 19.
Yeah.
Which makes it, I think, the strongest gun a caster can carry. With the effects, of course.
Yeah, it's not like a siege gun.
Right. It hits monstrously hard when you need it to.
Speaking of siege, with the new resculpt, I plan on playing. If I ever play Signar for any apparent reason, I plan on playing with the new siege sculpt and only playing him melee.
Okay.
Because if you look at Siege now, all he's doing is carrying around his hammer, but he always uses his gun.
Yeah.
So I figured the new sculpt of Siege, you should always play him using his hammer. Because he's got his gun out.
I'm not going to pretend like I understand your logic, but I certainly see the perspective.
I haven't drank enough yet.
Or maybe I have. No, P. Madrak is relatively solid. The problems he has is, without Surefoot, he's actually one of the squishier Trollblood Warlocks. He really leans heavily on that scroll of Do-Over and Surefoot.
Fury 5 is such a...
Yeah.
It's such a big, huge issue with hordes in general, and he suffers, I think, because he wants to do a lot of awesome things in his control area, and he can't because he's only Fury 5.
I mean, if you read his spell list, he's got 2 Fury cost 3 spells, and he's Fury 5.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how you spin it, you can only ever cast 2 of his spells during his activation.
One of them is an upkeep, so he's basically, technically for most of the game, he's a Fury 4 warlock.
And, like, he's one of the few spots where, like, I would say, like, you always want to have a Rune Shaper handy if you can.
Yes.
The Rune Shaper gives him such a massive boost, and since you're never really going to want to use that Rune Shaper for a Stranglehold, you want that first turn, I'm going to Surefoot something with the mini feat off the Rune Bearer, and then I can use Madrak's Fury to fuel a Krellstone for the game.
Internet name, trolls this.
Yes, right.
Yes.
So that's usually my impression on Madrak. I like to use Madrak because unless the opponent's playing super beast heavy, he's got a lot of bounce back. Like, your opponent can murder most of your force, and with Crusher, you can get Madrak in there and he can kill on his own 15 to 16 models without breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his control area is going to move with him, where like
Right.
something like a warder might actually get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I'm certain everyone who's even listening to this has had a circumstance where like, oh, most of the army's dead, but Madrak goes through and kills him and him and him and him and him and him, and now he's swinging on Severius. What are you gonna do now?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, you can still fell call him, take him up to a mat 9, or if you really need a good mat, you can make a mat 11 with Carnage. So, yeah, he's a solid caster, but he's fairly predictable. But he's predictable in a way your opponent may not be able to deal with.
Yep. Very true. All right, so we'll go to our final caster, and
Is it Madrak the sequel?
Madrak the sequel, the World Ender. He should just really retire and then just give his axe back to Tartarus.
Aside from the strategy, like I'm really curious where they're going with the story arc with Madrak, because the latest like little twists they've done between Gargantuans and Exigents is Madrak is fighting with the nature of like the axe. And he's
really?
Yeah, he's getting like these taunts from the tree, the wormwood.
Cassius?
Not Cassius, but the tree that's up his ass.
Oh, gotcha. Wormwood?
Yes.
He's the tree up his ass.
You've seen that figure? That tree is up his ass.
It kind of looks a little comfortable close.
If anybody's upset with that, like, just let me know. But I think everyone's gonna agree that there's a tree and a man with a big stick up his butt.
Okay.
Players be like, Cassius, what's that?
Yeah. But
exactly. Nobody knows.
Who
plays that?
He's getting taunts from the Wormwood Cassius combo to basically say like, no, give in to its nature, you'll be fine.
Oh.
And so there's this weird thing like, well, maybe he has to master it, or maybe he has to give in to it, and either way it'll fix the whole like my friend's dying routine.
My friend's dying.
My friend's plural, not friend is dying.
My friend's dying. I don't. See. I am a very bad press ganger, is in the fact where I have not read any of the fluff. That is not the chair.
It's the goddamn chair.
Yeah, so most of the fluff with Madrak is basically like, whenever he uses that Grim Salvation, which we'll talk about, it's like weird happenstances are happening where Madrak is not getting killed where he ought to have.
Sure.
Like, he's just walking side by side with a friend, and an arrow comes to Madrak's way, and his friend trips and takes the arrow in the ear instead of Madrak taking it in the eye.
Okay.
So, like, oh, he's dead, but it's not me. I guess that's better? Kind of?
Perspective.
Yeah.
It's the Grim Salvation thing.
But for the guy who's supposed to be saving the United Krells...
Krells.
It's
a bunch of fish.
Yes. So the guy trying to save the tiny shrimp.
The tiny shrimp eaten by whales. I can see Madrak swimming in a boat, or just in a boat, like going, "Stay away from my krill!"
So
it's a weird Moby Dick tale about him saving them from the white whale.
The guy trying to save the
krill.
United Fish is upset that the fish that he's trying to protect are dying instead. Like that's not cool.
Sure.
But yeah, like there's a really unique arc, and people are theorizing like, okay, maybe he's going to give into it, and he's going to become like a butcher with the Trollbloods, or maybe he's going to like master it, or maybe it'll have something else to go with. I don't know, but it'll stop being the whole like everybody's dying around me because I'm sad and pouty. I'm the emo Trollblood.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But either way, like that's probably the defining feature of actually Madrak 2 is Grim Salvation. When he takes damage, a friendly Trollkin model with an inch of him is killed instead.
Yeah, and that's the whole Grim Salvation.
Right. Now, here's the catch with that. Doesn't specify non-warlock, doesn't specify damage, just dead. So if you're playing a two-caster game and Doomshaper's holding hands with Madrak and Madrak takes an arrow to the face and nobody else is nearby, Doomshaper's dead.
yeah, you do not hold hands with Madrak down the battlefield.
No, it's a death wish.
So, other quick ability that he has the Tide of Death.
Yeah.
Which is when this model destroys one or more enemy models, he can immediately after the attack result can spend 1 Fury point to advance 1 inch.
Yeah.
Which I think ties into... I
forget the name of the ability. But basically, whenever Madrak kills an enemy living model...
Yep, he has a Wrath Axe Awakening.
There we go.
which is he gains 1 Fury point each time he destroys a living model with this weapon. So he could, if he gets into a good chain, he could just chain up something and just murder everything.
There's a limit because he still has to buy the extra attacks for it.
Yeah.
But if it's a 1 or a 2 inch jump, he can definitely make that and get some more axe to face.
Yeah.
It actually ties in really well with the way his feet works. We'll cover that in a bit, but.
Yep. So his spells, we already talked about Tide of Death.
That's not a spell.
Well, that's not a spell. That's an ability that we just talked about. So let's go in the order of spells that are really good. Actually, all of them are good.
Yeah, he's for a Fear 5 caster, he's got a surprisingly tasty list of spells that you'll only never really be able to cast one of a turn.
Yeah, Warpath is a really good spell if you played Circle, if you played Damiano.
Yeah. Basically, you kill something with a model in your control range, and a beast in his battle group gets to shuffle 3 inches some way.
Yep. Killing Ground, which is any models beginning a charge gain Pathfinder, which is pretty sexy for Trollblood beasts.
Yep. Well, actually, that's not just beasts. That's not battle group, is it? That's everything in his control area.
Friendly faction models gain Pathfinder. So war beasts, then they also can charge or make slam or power attacks against enemy models without being forced.
Right. That's actually a good way to get some extra mileage out of his Fury 5.
Yep.
Is by having Killing Ground up. That means that you can charge with your beast, and you're not spending at least that 1 point of Fury to get them across the field.
Blood Fury, which is gains an additional target warrior model unit gains an additional die on melee damage rolls, but suffers -2 defense.
It is non-weapon master, weapon master.
Yep. So you can put that onto burrowers, which with a fell collar can hit things really, really hard.
Yeah, because here's the trick with that. Even though that slug gun is a ranged attack, or is a ranged weapon, when they're using it in melee, it's a melee attack. And because that spell is not giving them a bonus on their weapons, just on melee attacks,
yep,
they get the bonus die.
They equal good times.
Yeah, it's similar things would be is I don't think you could cast it on. I don't think it's warrior model / unit, right?
Warrior model / unit. So you can't cast it on.
You can't put it on your beasts. You couldn't put it on the war wagon. But like with the Tuffalo, their impact attacks get the bonus die.
Correct.
So you want something dead fast, that's the spell to do it. You just give up your defense to do so. But it's probably the only spell in Trollbloods that directly boosts your damage. That's not like an army effect. Or an animi.
Yeah.
It's the one spot where the damage just gets outright ridiculous because this regular guy's now a weapon master. These weapon masters are double weapon masters.
Yeah. So the final part here is his feat, which is Desperate Hour. Friendly faction models currently in his control area can immediately make 1 normal melee attack against each enemy model in its melee range, or 1 ranged attack ignoring rate of fire, which is an amazing ability.
Right. Magic favors a lot of infantry that has reach because that feat means that you get multiple Thresher attacks, essentially. And it's not even really a Thresher attack because it's just the enemy. Yeah. So like with the Caber Tossers, your Cabers has 3 guys it's engaged with. Each individual one it pokes the big Caber at, maybe knocks them back with momentum, and if they've got Blood Fury on them, murders the hell out of them.
Yep, Tuffalo as well. Any model that works with reach generally works really well with Madrak too. Like Fenblades, the Tuffalo, Cabers, just really anything with reach is really sexy.
Yeah, and the extra range attack shouldn't be overlooked either. I found a surprising amount of synergy with Prime Madrak and the Battle Wagon.
Okay. Yep.
One of my favorite combinations of late is you take Dozer and Smig and you take that War Wagon. Dozer and Smig goes up and they use their animus on that War Wagon, and then they fire their shot off randomly. They don't care. They're just shooting their gun because they can. The War Wagon rolls up, takes a rat 7 shot at something to knock down a crowd of people, right? Knocks it down. Madrak rolls up, uses his feet. Dozer and Smig and the War Wagon both get another shot. Yep. If the War Wagon caught a caster in that blast, Dozer and Smig and the War Wagon both fundamentally get an automatic hit on those.
And they end the game pretty much from there.
Right. If the blast from the War Wagon didn't kill something, you can actually use the additional knockdown model to chain out the blast a bit further. So you might now be able to catch their Warcaster. Then Dozer and Smig pops them with a power 14 for funsies. So don't overlook the extra attack, but on most things, it's pretty irrelevant. One more Bushwhacker shot that can't benefit from combined ranged attack is just going to miss like the first one did. The The burrowers might be in a position to maybe shoot something, but probably won't happen. And as a important note with the burrowers in particular, they can't use their slug guns to make the melee attacks here because they can only do that during their activations.
Correct.
But usually, Epic Magic wins his game by rushing forward to the point, using his feet to murder everything so close to him that the enemy just doesn't have enough army left to retaliate. Because you can do the hot swap tricks with the Blood Fury, where one unit rolls up with Blood Fury, crushes something, Madrak will burn his feet, they'll get another swipe at anything heavy in the way, and then before his turn's over, you can put Blood Fury on another unit that maybe hasn't engaged yet, and that unit runs forward and kills something. So, like, he just usually wins by overwhelming force and the fact that Epic Magic is resistant with that Grim Salvation, if you don't mind your opponent taking pot shots at him to kill other models.
You want to be careful, though, too, is because if you rely on Grim Salvation as protecting your caster, if your opponent has any kind of drag feature or a push feature that can move Madrak away from his protective unit around him...
Drag does not work all the time. Because when you use Grim Salvation, you negate the damage. The damage doesn't happen, I believe.
Okay.
Which stops drag from triggering. I can double check that real quick, but I don't think drag works. But push effects or a critical devastation effect or a slam effect, I believe absolutely will.
Yeah, or I think druids will actually affect him because
that's a pull effect.
Because that's a on hit.
That's irrelevant of damage.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't suffer the damage or effects.
Right.
Yep.
So drag will not work.
Correct.
Well, drag will work eventually if they kill off all the Grim Salvation targets.
Correct, but you're not going to get that many great drag shots into something. Generally.
Hopefully not. You never know. Someone might play Morton Everlist with 3 Reapers.
All right. Well,
I think we've covered most of Trollbloods.
We've covered all of Trollbloods. I double-checked the unit attachments just to make sure we didn't miss any, like we did with the with Trollsis.
Yeah.
But I think we got everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping everybody had fun watching. I had fun drinking.
Yeah.
I got Borka painted.
Hey, that's good news.
Sexy times.
Now you're gonna give Borka to me, right?
What's that?
You're gonna give Borka
Yeah,
to me,
you can
right?
suck my dick.
Not on camera, please.
We're just about there, Andy.
I don't recall agreeing to any of this yet. But yeah, no, it's the big thing with Trollbloods is don't let the internet get you.
Yeah, that's the big
thing. Just play them. Seriously, just play them.
It's not all like doom and gloom. Trollbloods, nothing they're going to release for this army is going to annihilate the opponent on its own. Everything wants support from the rest of the army.
Yep.
And that's the way it's going to be with the releases. So something might look vanilla, but remember you've got chocolate chips in the back, you know? And I had something more clever and insightful to say, but I'm forgetting.
I think that was a pretty good one.
It's pretty good. I think it's good to end this on that because I'm very tired.
Fair enough.
Actually, I'm coming around again. I'm sobering up a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
we polished off a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, that whiskey went down pretty damn quick.
Well, when you mix it with root beer, it kind of goes down.
Oh
like
my
water.
God, it's so good. Why is cinnamon whiskey really good with root beer?
Because it contains
No
those things
idea.
that'll kill you, remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm fine with that. That's okay with me. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah.
This is Andy signing off.
This is Troll Jeff.
Brian.
Brian, you should lean in for a second there.
Okay, I'm leaning in for my second.
Okay.
Woo!
All right.
Now take it off.
Oh, I should stop streaming right now. Should I hit the button?
Yeah.
All right. I'll hit.
Maybe.
Well,
We're getting really bored of the stream if we just leave the room and the room goes dark.
that could be true too. I'll go ahead and hit this button and make it black.